Here's a health to the company, and one to my lass. Let us drink and be merry, all out of one glass. Let us drink and be merry, all grief to refrain. For we may or might never all meet here again.
Rum tastes sweeter among friends, pirate. At it again, Kenway. I thought you'd be done chasing fairy stories.
Not yet.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris, and welcome to another video we're going to watch today. And that is that Ubisoft have revealed the remake, resynced version of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which apparently is such a huge game for the series. And as far as like popularity, like people liked this game a lot, and not because of it being Assassin's Creed so much, like the Assassin side, but more because it was a really good pirate game, which we still have few and far between. And most recently, as somebody who's played a lot of Windrose, I'm into it, right? And my history with Assassin's Creed has only ever been a little bit, right? Which was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, was gifted on Steam to me by a friend so long, way back when, and played a little bit of the intro of that. I thought it was pretty cool, right? There's a Cassandra, and then we played Valhalla on the channel for a little bit. That was really cool. That was a cool game. That was a lot of fun. And then, was it back in the day on my PlayStation Vita, I have Assassin's Creed Liberation, I think. That one was okay. I think it was not as actiony as I had expected, but essentially that's my perception of the Assassin's Creed games. And so, ironically, I did end up getting a number of them about maybe like 2 months ago, where I got Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and then I actually also bought Black Flag. So I didn't know that this was happening. But who knows? Maybe there's a reason to play both. But either way, I will stop yapping because we got to watch them showing off. It's a mix of work in progress gameplay and in-game cinematics.
Hello, pirates. Matt Ryan here, the voice of Edward Kenway. And this is Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. 13 years after the original, this remake brings the classic game back to life, rebuilt from the ground up with the latest Anvil engine to deliver the most thrilling pirate adventure.
Oh my god.
All right, let's set sail.
Dash my buttons. Your life seems a grand one, if I may say. So full of adventure.
Oh my god,
You
it's
play
pretty.
as Captain Edward Kenway, a rebellious scoundrel eager to make a name for himself in the pursuit of glory, freedom, and a search for a better life.
I've seen your face before. Yous mates with them pirates down in Nassau.
Shut your bloody gob or I'll fill it with shot, you hear me?
Edward, is it?
After crossing paths with the Assassins and Templars, Edward is drawn into their centuries-old conflict with secret locations and legendary treasures at stake.
Ooh.
Along the way, he joins forces with infamous pirates such as Anne Bonny, Charles Vane, and Blackbeard.
No shit.
With them, he helps establish a short-lived, lawless republic following the pirate code and
Hell yeah.
defying empires built on cruelty and greed. Together, in their search for freedom, power, and riches, they'll fight across a treacherous tropical paradise, from dangerous waters to dense jungles, untamed lands, and bustling historical cities.
Oh my god. This looks
From the
really...
grandeur of Havana, the thriving and wealthy jewel of the Caribbean ruled by Templars, to Kingston's bustling trade hub, and Nassau, the beating heart of the pirate republic. Each city offers a distinct atmosphere shaped by opportunities and conflicts. The Caribbean world reaches a new level of immersion and realism, powered by high-resolution textures, enhanced lighting,
Oh wow.
strikingly detailed environments, and a
Yeah.
new dynamic weather system.
Love a weather system.
Even
Ooh.
underwater exploration is more expansive, more
Really?
beautiful, and more perilous than ever before.
Oh shit.
With
Oh, that's
seamless
cool.
access to cities and locations, the world feels truly alive.
Also, you can freely move the, like, sail
Creating the
around.
perfect backdrop for a life on the edge, where freedom is earned and danger is never far away. Time to draw swords, lads.
Oh, it looks so cool.
The combat system has been entirely reworked into an action-oriented experience.
Oh.
While wielding dual swords, pistols, and hidden blades, every move now plays a specific role with faster, more fluid attacks and
Oh,
combos. Land a perfect parry to open up your target for an instant kill, then follow with up to 4 chained takedowns. Use walls, ledges, and breakables to your advantage. Keep track of your opponents and use all your tools to level the playing field.
Just get him to shoot him?
But fight recklessly, and you will be punished.
Ooh.
Whether you're on the hunt or on the run, mastering your environment is key. As you navigate through cities and jungles, you'll experience smooth and improved iconic parkour moves.
That is
From
pretty
free
smooth.
jumps to back ejects and side ejects. These options offer a range of reactive movements, giving you tighter control, resulting in greater speed and deadlier assassinations.
I was gonna say, that was very fluid.
Being
That
a pirate assassin often calls for a subtle approach. With Resynced and its enriched stealth system, you can now crouch freely as part of your toolkit to approach targets.
Oh, you couldn't crouch before. That's an improvement.
Tailing and eavesdropping missions have also been revamped. In the original game, getting discovered meant instant desynchronization. Yes, this was a pretty big pain point. We remember. Now, the action continues. Your objectives remain, but your target will react, and you must adapt accordingly.
Oh, interesting. So it's no longer like an auto
All
fail.
these new interactions offer multiple ways to succeed and progress in your missions. Of course, this wouldn't be a real pirate adventure without a ship.
That looks so cool.
Jackdaw.
You named your brig after a poxy bird.
The Jackdaw. What a beauty. Set sail and freely roam the Caribbean. Now equipped with even more firepower, the Jackdaw can conquer the high seas like never before.
Freely. Oh shit.
With new alternate fire upgrades for every weapon, you now have more power and flexibility to overcome opponents' ships in any situation.
Okay, wait a minute. This is actually pretty cool. This is... Oh shit.
You will engage in epic battles, boarding parties, and fort raids. All of these are back, and as challenging, dangerous, and exciting as ever.
Dude, wait a minute.
To reinforce your crew, 3 brand new officers make their entrance. Lucy Baldwin, the Padre, and Deadman Smith. Each officer has a unique narrative questline that reveals their backstory. Gain their trust to recruit them to your crew and benefit from their special gameplay abilities. Deadman Smith, for example, unlocks a double shot from broadside weapons.
Hell yeah. Cool names.
Explore the Caribbean alongside your crewmates and trusty pet.
Oh my
That's
god.
right. You can now find a cat or monkey for the jackdaw. Or
What
engage
about
and
both?
plunder other vessels. Steer through violent storms, rogue waves. Or just soak up the sun, regaled by shanties new and old.
For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave.
There's shanties. Oh,
Assassin's Creed
Big
Black
fan.
Flag Resynced offers a deeper, more immersive adventure that remains faithful to what players love, while enriching the experience with enhanced gameplay features and fresh quests and storylines, including ones for the officers you met earlier and, just between you and me, new narrative arcs involving our old friends, Blackbeard and Steed. Defy empires and relive the era's explosive events amidst the ancient war between assassins and Templars in the ultimate pirate fantasy. Gold, infamy, and adventure await. It's time to raise the black flag again.
god damn. That's cool. That's that looks really good. Right? Obviously, you know, Ubisoft doesn't have the greatest reputation, but they showed, right? Less telling, more showing. We like that. This looks crazy good. It definitely looks very pirate. Again, like maybe I'd have a better opinion comparing the two if I had played the original first. But I think it's even more it's interesting too, being someone who doesn't know and seeing this for the first time and being like, okay, what's the new person impression? This shit looks so cool. This looks great. The fact that you could freely sail this around, and there's even shanties, right? Which Valhalla had. They had some songs, right, and tales when you would on the boat when you were sailing around. So the fact that they have kind of a similar thing, which obviously this was first, and that's great. That's really cool, right? The ship to ship battles, very rad. Like the boarding of the other ships and then going into like combat with the crew. That's so neat. That's so neat. That just seems like a whole lot of fun. And then being able to steer the ship while also, you know, firing off the cannons and based on kind of what you can see, like there's spyglass brace, right? Pathfinder, I guess that's some kind of like navigating where you're going. And then let me move this. There's these down here, right here in the bottom left, or I guess like the different ship weapons. There's like barrels, and then I guess like the two barrels, broadside, then and then there's these new with the LB there. That's new, I guess, based on what they were showing in that scene. Right? They say like, oh, we got new weapons now, new things. And that was one of them, which I guess is like maybe like a mortar shot, something like that. The parkour
and use
looked
all your tools.
really cool. The parkour looked nice. Right, and I remember like the parkour in Valhalla wasn't bad. Right? Not a whole lot of places that encourage you to go all parkour, but you could do it. And it was pretty good.
Is key.
But like
As
the
you
fact that
navigate
this
through
seems
cities and jungles, you'll experience smooth and improved iconic parkour moves. From free jumps, to back ejects, and side ejects. These options offer a range of reactive movements, giving
Like-
you tighter control, resulting in greater speed and deadlier assassinations.
the fact that you like that was all such a smooth movement, right? It didn't feel janky. It didn't feel like you lost momentum at some point, right? It looked and felt very natural. It was smooth. It was great. It was very cool. The combat, it'd say it's definitely obviously like Ubisoft's new style with the games is very action based, right? And it does look like it'd be pretty cool. It's definitely less like the fencing style. A lot of like parries and like footwork, right? Dodging and weaving. But maybe he's just a different type of pirate. Maybe he's built different to be just more, you know, aggressive. But yeah, those guns are cool. Him aesthetically is really cool, right? The pistols, the swords, the leather, right? We get a ship called the Jackdaw. The fact that there's underwater stuff. There's underwater exploration. There's free ship travel, right? There's also ship to ship combat, but there's also ground like on land combat. And there's storylines revolving the fact Anne Bonny, Ed Blackbeard. That's really cool. That's awesome. Like you actually interact with them. I mean, maybe it's a small part, but either way, the fact that they're in there, I think is interesting. And they mentioned storylines for them too. This this feels right. This feels like a good use of their time. This is the energy and the feeling that I think we wanted from Skull and Bones that did not happen. Did not happen at all. And so maybe they actually were listening to the outcry. Because again, even though I've never played, a lot of the Assassin's Creeds, I still heard the sentiment of like people really enjoying Black Flag, but not because it's like Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3, it's another Assassin's Creed game, but because you started it probably way back when because it was another Assassin's Creed, and the other ones were really good, but then you really loved it for the fact that it really brought the pirate feel to it. That's one thing. And I am curious because from what I'm aware, there are there are I guess in all Assassin's Creeds there's like a real world section, which was very jarring in Valhalla when we played it on the channel. It was very jarring to go and in the middle of what we were doing to get like ripped out back in the modern day times. And I think we were doing something with a staff. We were in like some kind of house in the woods. It was so strange. It completely like pulled me out of the immersion, and I had no idea really what was happening. Right? Something about the end of the world, something like that. And so I guess all the games have had that in a way because that's the idea of the I'd say these eras specifically like in Odyssey, Valhalla, and I guess here probably too, right? Um it's sort of you are experiencing like a genetic memory, something like that, right? So the whole point of like the animus, and so I'm curious exactly how that's going to work here. Like, what does that mean? Or if they, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. But it's something I'm so like hyper aware of now after Valhalla is like, this is like a thing for the series. But this looks so good. This looks great. Right? They added a sign, and they fixed the overhang, right? That's nice. Looks good, but it doesn't look, like perfectly pristine still. Still looks like it's been put together. It's been weathered. The weather system, by the way, that sounds really cool. The fact that there are like storms on the sea, high waves, right? But then there's also calm times, and the fact that there's like rain and storm, whether you're on land or at sea. I feel it just makes it more immersive. I mean, this looks really neat. I'm curious how much you can really explore. How much how much is there to do, and how much, because what is it? In Valhalla, it is kind of overwhelming in some ways, the amount of stuff to do. Right? And of course over time we learn to appreciate a minimum UI. But for Valhalla, the amount of things that were on the screen that were just like markers to go check out this, look at this, secrets, persons to talk to, quests, side quests, exploration opportunities, and all these sort of things, it felt overwhelming. But I also don't know how, what is it? You have the width and depth. You know, looks really wide, looks good, but how deep is it? You know, and at the core of it all, I think is it fun, right? It doesn't need to be some kind of like career. Like every single character you talk to has some like deep backstory and relevance to the plot. But does it feel good and it feel cool to do? That's how I think about it. And these areas look incredible, like visually, really good. I don't think you could argue that. It looks really good. It looks really nice. That looks fucking rad. And then obviously like who these guys are, how he gets mixed up into all this, because you can see like in this scene, right, he's only got the one pistol, he doesn't really have any of the leather on. Maybe they just took his armor off, but I imagine there's some personal progression.
Blackbeard.
He looks sick. He looks really cool. He looks awesome. But I think I'm very optimistic about this one because it has such a vibe, right? And the fact that the voice actor for, is it Edward? Um, he's narrating the whole thing versus just, it. I don't know what am I trying to say? Like this seems like a more in depth reveal than I think I would have expected. And I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing because the more they show off, the more we see, the more we understand. Now it shows how serious they seem to be taking it, but also, so it doesn't feel like we were misled or sort of implied one thing, but then the execution is different, right? And I'm sure the combat will probably be a little bit divisive, right? Because I know, what is it, at there was one point, I think, was it Odyssey? Was Odyssey the one? Was Odyssey the first game, or was it before Odyssey? Basically, I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me. There was some point in the series that switched over to, I guess, the more action-based combat and more RPG style of the game, and I think Odyssey was the one that did it. But the fact that this is now incorporating that kind of action combat, and based on the UI, there does seem to be skills, and not just, basic combat. So they do seem to be probably going into more RPG style. And I imagine that kind of a change could be divisive. Especially if you really like the older style of game, which I am still debating on doing. I'm still debating. I already own the original, so I might as well just play it at some point. And then still got to play Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood. And I think I heard 3 was okay, or was good. I'm not too sure. But either way, now I want to hear what you guys have to say. We've looked at this, we've checked it out, we've gone through it. I've yapped a lot. So I want to know, what do you guys think? Have you played the original? Are you a fan of the Assassin's Creed? How does this, in your mind, like, genuinely look, based on what you've seen and what we've heard, right? So let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. For real. It was kind of cool. And see you guys in the next video. Whatever that ends up being. Bye-bye. Okay, actually, apparently there was a bigger reveal that I didn't know about. Where they actually did, like, the developers talked about a lot of what they're doing. So I'm gonna tag this in here awkwardly in this spot out of nowhere. So let's hear from them.
With Black Flag Resynced, we set out to reconnect with the heart of Black Flag. From the start, the intention was clear: deliver a faithful and enriched experience grounded in what players loved. We've rebuilt the entire adventure using our latest Anvil engine. Expect fully overhauled visuals, new additions that deepen its world, and enhanced gameplay both on land and at sea. Movement now flows more naturally from one action to the next, whether you're doing parkour across rooftops in Havana or fighting on the docks. Parkour builds on the latest design improvements from recent Assassin's Creed games, while still keeping Edward's classic moves. Combat now offers a more dynamic, swashbuckling experience, driven by precise parries and takedowns. Stealth gets its share of improvements too, and the ability to crouch anywhere. They open up more tactical routes and subtle approaches, letting you shape the adventure the way you want. Naval gameplay also follows the same philosophy and offers more tactical options. New officers will join your crew with powerful abilities, while the Jackdaw's weapons can be upgraded with new modes to change up the fight. The sea now plays an active role in how you'll be challenged by the elements. Weather and waves will influence how your ship will handle, while preserving the pace and freedom players remember. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced matters deeply to us and to you. That's why we took the time to rebuild it with the care it deserves. This remains a solo, adventure, and character-driven experience. It is not an RPG. The focus stays on how you play and how you explore the world. And as we develop the game, we organize dedicated workshops with our community. These early player feedbacks played an important role in refining many of these elements. Here's a look at their most recent visit.
Oh, that's okay.
Hello, everyone. We are here at the Ubisoft Singapore studio, where we invited some of our biggest Assassin's Creed fans to discover the remake of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. They've had the opportunity to meet the devs, try the game, and share their valuable feedback with us. Here's what they had to say.
I still can't believe that I can help the dev team to make the game better and improve it when it finally arrives.
I'm part of that process, and Black Flag is my favorite game, so to be a part of that process is just awesome.
It felt nice to be appreciated in that way, to give direct input about the game.
The feedback with the dev team, they were very open as a dev team to take the criticism, what needs to be fixed, what's great. They even asked us more questions about it. So I love the curiosity that they show us, and it shows that they truly care about what they do.
I'm just really excited to be back, like with the addition of new audio lines, the new dialogue, and the new music.
I'm super excited to actually help improve the staff experience for the game.
I care about this game, this remake, when I heard rumors about this game, I just wanted to be involved in giving as much effective feedback as possible.
That's a great sign.
Some of this work came directly from spending time with some of our core players early on. We had them play early builds and sat down with them to gather their honest feedback on the game, tapping into the many things players expect of a Black Flag remake, from gameplay features to visual fidelity. This helped us refine some of our choices along the way. What was interesting was not only to gather that feedback, but to understand why players reacted this way. They were incredibly passionate about Edward, how he moves, how he reads on screen, even the details on his face. That led to deeper conversations. Together, we explored different approaches, tested ideas, challenged assumptions, and refined choices until the intent felt right again. The team's passion and commitment have driven every step of this journey, and we can't wait for you to see more of what we've been crafting.
Oh, it really is so good to be back in this world. I believe the Black Flag is one of those pirate adventures that never really left the players' minds. And it's also really special to be here today with some of the people who helped shape the game back then and who are bringing it back now. Jean, you were creative director on the original Black Flag, and Paul, you're the creative director on Resynced, who's leading the vision of this remake today. Now, before we dive into what the game is now, I'd love to go back for a moment. So when you started building Black Flag back in early 2012? 2012. How was the world imagined in the first place? I mean, what were the pillars that were there from day one?
Well, from the very beginning, one of the key central core pillars was fluidity, right? We really wanted a seamless experience, connecting movement, combat, and navigation, all very naturally. And it was the same seamlessness that we were looking for between naval experience and the ground experience, because the other challenges we were facing was to merge actually two fantasies, being a pirate on one side and being an assassin on the other, without any friction. And the sea wasn't just an add-on, to the ground experience. Naval gameplay was really a core pillar from day one. We also wanted a world that feels alive, right? Something that would react to the players, always in motion. And it was very compelling to me to see other people like Paul and his team actually to face the same challenges that we did face back in the days. And I think what helped them craft the game was that a lot of people involved in Resynced today were already part of the game, the original back then.
Paul, so you were already a part of the team back then, right? So, when you come back to a project all these years later, what stayed non-negotiable from the original vision, apart from the fact that, I'm Kenway?
So, Matt, the one thing that was non-negotiable is the original story of Edward Kenway. We have never approached Resynced as a reinvention. Our goal is to carry John's vision forward. And today, we have much more room to do so since the game is engineered and rebuilt on Ubisoft's latest engine. It allows us to push dynamism, gameplay, immersion further, while keeping the original vision and story intact.
Yeah, Jean, and you mentioned before how collaborative the original game was, and can you talk about that, especially with Singapore?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a absolutely team effort back in the time, and I remember actually in 2012 when we first came here in Singapore, meeting Paul and the team to do what we call the blueprint. This week of hard work where the game really emerged from the preparatory work, and Montreal worked very closely with Singapore. Singapore built key parts of Black Flag. The naval gameplay was built on top of the Assassin's Creed 3 naval tech that was developed, in some specific missions. But you were also behind a lot of places, locations, and gameplays, like caves, underwater gameplay, forts, ships, and some major missions like the E3 demo that you worked on.
That's right. Right. So there seems to be like a real sense of continuity here, not just in the game, but in the people making it. One thing that really shaped Black Flag for me was how dynamic the scenes felt coming back to it for Resynced and shooting the mocap scenes in Toronto. The scenes just felt so dynamic, like the original game. And Jean, what was the intention back then
when it came to all the cinematics?
So from the start, and it was a lot of discussion with Kama, the animation director back then, we really wanted the scenes to feel alive. We wanted characters moving, interrupting each other, exchanging objects, and reacting physically. And that sense of movement was really part of the game's identity, I feel.
Right. And when you rebuild a game like this, that I guess that becomes a huge challenge, right, Paul? And how did you keep the spirit whilst trying to push it further with all of today's amazing technology?
Well, there are many ways, but to carry on the spirit of Black Flag, we always remembered one thing: to rebuild the game with the original pillars in mind, John's pillars and the original core team's pillars. But the most important thing was the story. Every single small moment in the game had to be rebuilt and crafted. And it took a lot of handcrafting, especially the facial animations. But that's important because that's the soul of the game.
You men are the pariahs of Charlestown, and I would profit better by using your organs for chum and your bones for char. By Christ!
And when you add new things to a game that people really know off by heart and they know it so well, the fear is always that the people might notice the seams, right? Jean, when you played it, what did you feel?
Well, actually, I felt like playing Black Flag, and not even noticing where the original end was ending and when the new content that Paul and the team wrote was starting. And this is something really, really important. That continuity is very much essential.
Jean, whenever we wanted to change or add something, we would always question ourselves: does this belong here? Would Edward do this? Would John get upset? And if the answer wasn't clear, we simply wouldn't do it. However, as we all know, no remake is complete without additional content. So we have added brand new chapters and brand new missions to the game, including a brand new scene with Edward's wife, Caroline, that's written by Darby himself.
Yeah, I remember playing it.
Oh.
Jean, so like there's something, I don't know, there's something deeper in Black Flag than just like pirate freedom, and it's closely tied to the character of Edward.
Yes, absolutely. We really wanted to send a message also saying that freedom without structure doesn't lead you anywhere, right? And Edward's arc reflects that. He thinks everything will be granted, that's the good life, plundering, etc. But then in the end, you realize that you lost all your friends. Yeah. Right? And so this is very important because he grows into someone that understands his own responsibilities, and that makes him, like you said, very human.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I really leaned into coming back to the character after, more than a decade. It's the same Edward, but there seemed to be for me personally, from the scenes that were written, kind of, as I said, more dynamism, but also there's a certain kind of weight to Edward's journey, I guess that with Black Flag Resynced, there are some really kind of important decisions to make, right, Paul? And how did you approach those?
So, Matt, with Resynced, we made a clear choice. It is a pure story-driven adventure, and we are fully focused on Edward's adventures in the Caribbean. As a result of this focus, we have elected to not have the multiplayer and not have the DLC. However, Resynced is built from the ground up with new story, new content, and new systems. But we're staying true to its action-adventure roots. Resynced is a 2026 take on the original legend. And for those of us who are curious, the original will still be available.
And Jean, so the modern day, right, that played a really specific role in Black Flag when it was released. And so can you explain how it fit the franchise back then?
So, back then in 2013, the present day reflected where the franchise was at. It was a transition moment, especially with Desmond's story and what it meant at the time. But now with Resynced, I think there were some changes were needed.
That's right. Today, the modern day has evolved. For Black Flag Resynced, we have approached it in a way that focuses on Edward's journey while still connecting his memories to the Animus. The modern day rifts in Black Flag Resynced will feature new moments that focus on Edward's internal struggles.
There's also something about Black Flag that I feel that I don't know, people still crave what the game brought, you know?
You know what? I think it's because it's a game full of light.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, there is danger and violence, but everything takes place under the bright Caribbean sky, you know? Palm trees, seas, movement. It's very generous in a sense. And that sense of escapism has always been part of the game, and I feel it's very relevant in 2026.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing that the people I feel never forget, and certainly I never had, is the music.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. It's the music, especially the sea shanties. The sea shanties in particular have always been part of Black Flag's identity. For Resynced, we have kept the shanties that everybody loves, but we have also added new shanties that are connected to the story.
Time ago, everywhere, 'twas a long time and a very long time.
So today, we'd like to reveal a collaboration with an artist that's deeply connected to the Assassin's Creed franchise. And this artist has a special place in my heart because of his work on Assassin's Creed Revelations, Woodkid.
Woodkid. Ah, cool. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's great.
Hey everyone, Woodkid here. I'm in my studio in Paris now and I have great news for you. I'm back in the Assassin's Creed franchise, this time for Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. You know, the world of Assassin's Creed has been very important for me and very linked to my career. It started like 15 years ago or something. And this time, I'm very excited about what we've done. I know that Assassin's Creed Black Flag is a game that's very important to all of you. It's a game about escapism, about rebellion, about exploration, and these are themes that are very, very important for my work. You know, I've explored these themes a lot in my music. So I won't say too much, but I can't wait for you to hear what I've done for Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced.
Okay, so he's a big deal. Like,
return to the franchise,
good reputation.
Especially for Black Flag Resynced, means a lot to the team. We've been working on a newly reimagined track specifically for Black Flag Resynced, and we can't wait for you guys to hear it.
Yeah, right. And, you know, music is just one of those things that the people remember long after they stop playing. I mean, I did. The sea shanties, I still play in my car now from time to time, you know, and this game means a lot to you, and we know that.
Yeah, absolutely. This game means a lot to me, and I'm not saying that just because you guys are here. Just working on a game takes me back to 2012, and we all want the game to be the best it can be, and we really hope that you guys will enjoy playing it.
Yeah, so you entered the Animus for real.
That's
back
right.
in 2012, yeah.
I mean, what a great thing, right? To come back to something, you know, more than a decade after, you know, and get to revisit and rebuild and reimagine this wonderful world. It's just been such a pleasure for me, and I thank you guys for bringing me back. Before we wrap this up, I've got a little surprise for you. All right, this is something pretty awesome. I saw it today for the first time, and I love it. So here we have an Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced Collector's Edition. It's so awesome, and inside is a really stunningly well-crafted figurine of Edward Kenway sitting there, slouched like...
that's actually pretty cool.
Like me, really. And he looks really cool, and it's crafted really well. And inside, there's a notebook with all of, like, Kenway's diary entries and journeys about all of his adventures. And there's also a brooch and a cloth map, and then some goodies in there for everyone. So this one is really cool. It's the first time I've seen it today. And
it looks really good.
If you guys like it, then you're going to have to get your own, because this one's mine.
You deserve it.
Thank you. No,
You're welcome to take it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. We can't wait for you to live or relive this thrilling pirate adventure with Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced that will launch on July 9th, 2026. I just want to say thank you for all being with us today, and we cannot wait for you to experience it yourselves. Cheers.
Ah, man. Okay. I'm glad that there was apparently there was like a whole showcase, not just this one, the little bit we watched before. But it picked up right at the end anyway, so it worked out. But there feels like there's more hope now. Right. For those the fan of the franchise, the worry about Black Flag being remade. The fact that they emphasize pretty early on, right? They're like, it's not an RPG. and they've said that we're keeping the story exactly the way it is. They're not changing anything. They're adding new storylines, which is fine. Adding new storylines, I think, is not a bad thing, especially like when you're doing a remake. It's when you change previous storylines that's like, just don't do it. Just put it back the way it was, right? So the fact that they're like, we're telling the story, it's gonna happen exactly the way it is. We just had to rebuild everything, new mocap, which is cool, which is really great to see, right? I mean, for the collector's edition, I don't always get collector's editions, but I am a sucker for a cool statue, right? And it actually looks good. It doesn't look kind of like a shoddy little thing. And then the inclusion of like the cloth map in the journal, I think it's neat if you're obviously like big fan. And apparently Woodkid, that I've never, out of respect, right? Never heard. But that's mostly because I've never played Assassin's Creed, so I'm probably not familiar with his work anyway. But if it was enough for them to go and bring him back for this, I think that says something. Right? The line that I do think is interesting is this one.
Or Assassin's.
Especially for Black Flag Resynced means a lot to the team. We've been working on a newly reimagined track specifically for Black Flag Resynced, and we can't.
A newly reimagined.
We've been working on a newly reimagined track specifically for Black Flag Resynced, and
a newly reimagined track. Is that sort of like a single track song, or are they doing like a whole, like a redo of the soundtrack for the game as a whole? It depends. It is, because there's some music that's just really good, and when you go to like kind of try to up the ante with like new music or try to replace it, it can detract, right? It can, most of the time maybe it's not as good, but this filled me with more hope in seeing kind of their approach and their vision, right? The fact that they said it right here.
Assassin's Creed games, while still keeping Edward's classic moves. Combat now offers a more dynamic, swashbuckling experience, driven by precise parries and takedowns.
Precise parries and takedowns, and that experience. So you don't have to lean into the, the very, I mean, maybe not, right? We'll see obviously when we get our hands on it, but the idea is you can play. You don't have to play aggressively, right? Just kind of like button mash until they die. Like because I feel like that's so important to the combat, because the swashbuckler combat feeling is so important, because everything else could be amazing, but if you go into combat and it doesn't feel right, then the rest of it doesn't really. You say like the rest of it doesn't really matter, but it detracts from all of it. It's like, God, it's perfect except for the combat, which we do the most of.
Stealth gets its share of improvements too.
The fact that this wasn't a thing back then, I think, is kind of wild. But I mean, that's, I guess, the way it goes. I guess at one point you would just slowly approach and assassinate. But great addition, great thing. And the fact that they acknowledge the modern day thing, I'm actually really glad about too, because that was obviously a question I had just had, and I'm sure everybody had. And the fact that it will be seemingly included in a way, but focused on Edward, right? To say like, oh, his internal struggles. It's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Right? Is it gonna pull us back to like now, modern day? and then there's some like connection. I don't know. I don't know. It's obviously vague for a reason because they don't want to just show off everything, reveal it all. But it's vague enough to where I'm like, I wonder what that's gonna be. Right. But the fact that they brought in a bunch of people that are passionate about the game, right? Based on their names, it seems to be a lot of probably like content creators and stuff. But I would hope the people, and again, I don't recognize any of these people, so maybe you guys do, or some of you do. Bringing them in, if anything, I think it's just a sign of good faith from the development team to be like, okay, we kind of want to not mess this up, because out of all the remakes, it seems Black Flag is such a big one to where like it's a very there's a lot of weight on the success. I think that's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of weight on the success of this one, because if this falls flat in some way, it's like, what would they do afterwards? Right? Because there's only the big ones that I know about are Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Black Flag as kind of like the big favorites. At least from what I've heard. It's not like anyone dislikes like all of them. It's just those are the ones that I've heard vocally the most interest in and fan base for. But it's cool to see that they actually seem like they care. Right? And the big thing is to preserve the story, preserve. It's a good word. We like that word. Big fan. Big fan of the word preserve.
I thank you guys. I've got a little and
right, the fact that the guy in the middle here was the original creative director, and the guy on the left is now the new one, but they're both involved. It seems, right? But either way, the fact that, I mean, even the guy on the left, he was part of the team back then anyway, so it's not it's not like a completely new group of people who are having to like kind of look back at the game and be like, okay, what did we do? What did they do? How do we kind of replicate this? I don't know. I'm just point being, I think it looks great. I have hope for it. I'm very excited to see how this actually comes out, what it looks like. In hands-on, in execution. And the fact that they really emphasize that it's a single player focused game. I do think it's kind of a weird decision to get rid of the DLC. I think that's a little strange, because like you could say, oh well, the DLC doesn't focus on Edward, therefore that's why we took it out. But the fact that it was still part of the game is one thing. Like multiplayer, I think is different. Multiplayer is a little bit different, right? That's kind of like an optional thing. Doesn't really relate to the main game at all. It's kind of just like a fun thing to do. But the DLC, I think, is strange. It's a strange one. Right, but then maybe the DLC wasn't very good. But even if it wasn't good, I feel like you still... I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. But the fact that they did state that the original is going to stay, we like to see that. We like to hear that. They're not going to go and delist it. We're not going to lose the original Black Flag because they put a new one out, like other companies do. So that's nice. That's very nice. That's very cool. So definitely want to hear what you guys think about this in the comments again, because this is very interesting. As somebody who's not played and seeing it for the first time and coming into it, it looks really fun. It looks like a great time. And so I want to hear what are your thoughts. So let me know, and see you guys in the next one, whatever that ends up being. Bye bye.